Gypsy, bodega, ga. This is Zach, and you've reached another episode of Space Gypsy Bodega. We're focusing on dream yoga topics, and to know about dream yoga topics, you need to know about the lunar cycles, the lunar timetables. The moon has everything to do with the brain and its timetables of when to know when to do what in sort of when you practice lucid dreaming, or if you practice any type of dream yoga where you're working with brain waves and the best times to ride them, kind of like a surfer riding waves. You're riding the brain waves, and the more opportune times where you get more strength and more power out of all your mind work that you do when you're dealing with electromagnetic fields and stuff. So let's get into it. The moon, and we're going to look at the moon here in this on this calendar. This whole thing here is the lunar calendar found in King Tut's tomb, and it's set to some old numbers, so the numbers on here might look a little out of date and out of place, but they're still they fit the time when this calendar was made. I think it was about 3,000 years ago or something like that, around that time. We're talking about the moon's 36-month cycle and where it ends up in the different parts of the cycle. So let's start. We're going to start with, we already went over that this is the same cycle algorithm as the sun, and we went over that in the last video. So we're going to focus just on lunar terms now and talk in lunar language instead of solar language. So the lunastice here at December 21st, that marker here, when we have the solstice, when we have the winter solstice, the moon, we're going to use this point, but not this amount, but it's the 0 point. It would be where a new moon would start. It's well, anyways, this point here is where the new moon, it would be the luna solstice, the lunastice. And here the energy of the moon is coming from 0, and as it moves through the months to get to its midway point, its equinox, as the energy picks up and moves to its midway point, it takes it 9 months for the moon to get to its midway point, coming up here to its midway point. So we got 9 months to go from here to here. Or sorry, from here to there, the midway. And the sun takes that time in 3 months, you see. So you can see a big difference there. Then from the midway point right over here, the moon continues on and goes another 9 months to get to its highest point. And in nature, that'd be the highest point in the sky. You know, the moon would rise the highest it does in the sky. So that would happen, and that would be here. This would be a total of from its low point to its high point, be a total of 18 months to do that. So we have that there, and then it comes back down from its high point, right? And we're going to use the terms now, lunar terms. We'll start bringing them in. So from the high point, it's coming back down, and it starts to its midway, right? To its midpoint. It's the moon. Midpoint in the sky is coming down. It takes again another 9 months to do that, and it gets to its equinox point, its mid. When we just say a little bit something about the midpoints of any solar or lunar, the equinoxes, that's where it's the most power. This area here is the most power. When you're in this little realm, you're in the spectrum that has the most power and the most benefits to anything you're doing, mental, physical healing, anything. If you're in the fall and winter, or if you do yoga during sunset or sunrise, that would be this area here. This area. And that's considered the mid, the equinox. So great for planning yoga classes or doing healings or mental stuff or dreaming. Dream yoga is all about planning the cycles and riding the cycles of the brain waves. So as this is happening in nature, this is happening in your brain too. As it's happening in nature, the moon is affecting your brain and doing different things, coming in and out of equinox and moving to each extreme of its cycle, its high and low point. So then the last 9 months from its midpoint to its lowest point back to a new moon again is 9 months to get to there, and that's when you'll get these will be new moon is always on these points here. You have your new moons right here. So usually on the winter solstice is when you're going to get your new moon. They do sometimes happen here, but on this lunar calendar, these two pegs here in this section are new moon, considered new moon. This would be considered full moon on this calendar. This is the full moon. So you have the moon in its basic cycle, like in a 28-day cycle. In the 28-day cycle, it goes. The moon starts from a new moon, and then the moon is waxing up to a full moon, and it takes 14 days to do that, and then it takes another 14 days to wax, and they call that waxing, and the moon loses energy and gets back weak to another new moon, and then the moon starts to I'm sorry, that was waning. So the moon goes back, as the moon goes towards the full moon from its new moon position, the moon waxes as it gets to the full moon, and that takes 14 days. And then the moon takes 14 days to wane as it goes down to its other point, back to the other new moon spot to complete its 28-day cycle. So you got new moon, full moon, and new moon. In the middle here, of course, you got a quarter moon. And if you look here, let's see if we can reveal it. There we go. Yeah, right there. That's a this would be see a quarter moon mark there. There's a half moon mark there. Full moon on this thing. There's again half moon mark there, quarter moon, and then new moon. So this calendar has those marks in there for that, and that's the lunar cycle, the lunar timetable. Anyways, as mapped onto the solar equinox solstice pattern. And thank you for listening to this presentation, and I'd like to give you a little bit of exit music on the way out. Space, Ace, Dixie, Gypsy, Bodega.